and those who lose their lives because of me will find them. Let us pray. O gracious Father, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. These things we ask in your name. Amen. Well, I know you've heard the scripture about the sparrows and the hare, and I know the Lord has a few less hairs he has to count on knowing what the number of hairs on my head. But one of the things that I was so appreciative of this morning, I couldn't have asked for a better intro than for Sister Angela to be here and talk to us about what they were doing in Africa there. Now, I'm going to pull another book out, and this gets to be a scary book sometimes. This is the Book of Discipline. This is the rules and regulations of the United Methodist Church, but it's more than that. It's the history of the United Methodist Church. And it is a very important document in which we need to know. So those of us who may have been in the United Methodist Church our life may not know exactly what's in here. Even I don't know what's all in here, and those that are new. But one of the things I want to read to you in the Book of Discipline is about what we talked about in our scripture. And it's servant leadership. It says, within the United Methodist Church, there are those called to servant leadership, lay and ordained. Such callings are evidenced by special gifts, evidence of God's grace and promise of usefulness. God's call to servant leadership is inward as it comes to the individual, and outward through the discernment and validation of the church. The privilege of servant leadership in a church is the call to share in the preparation of congregations and the whole church for the mission of God in the world. The obligation of servant leadership is forming of Christian disciples in the covenant community of the congregation. This involves discerning and nurturing the spiritual relationships with God. That is the privilege of all servant ministers. It also involves instructing and guiding Christian disciples in their witness to Jesus Christ in the world through acts of worship, devotion, compassion, and justice under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. John Wesley described this as watching over one another in love. Watching over one another in love. You see, I want to let you know right now that I am so appreciative of you being here and sitting out there in the congregation. But we can't sit in the pews all the time. We have to be a part of the mission of God and transforming the world by making disciples of Christ. It's our motto of the United Methodist Church. You know, we live in such an egotistical time period where it's all about me. It's all about self-importance. And you know, it's just like my granddaughter. You know, any little baby, what do? We try to tell them, you are the most important thing in the world. You are the most prettiest baby. You are so special, everything like that. And then once they buy into that, it takes us years to teach our children the importance of putting others before us. You see, here are a few quotes that I'd like to share with you about self-importance and ego. From Don Juan, self-importance is man's greatest enemy. What weakens him is feeling offended by the deeds and misdeeds of his fellow men. Self-importance requires that one spend most of one's life offended by something or someone. If you look at ego, this comes from an unknown author. If you hate a person, you hate something that is a part of yourself. What isn't part of ourselves doesn't discern us. And I like this Italian proverb. When the game is over, the king and the pawn go into the same box. And then here's a Native American proverb. Never criticize a man until you've walked a mile in his moccasins. You see, in Matthew this morning, Jesus is commissioning the disciples. His first time he sends them out on a mission. And not just any old mission, but a mission to bring the Jewish people to him, to bring those lost members of the family into the fold. That's what they were supposed to do. They weren't supposed to go out and preach to the Gentiles, but to the Jews, to the people they knew. And in fact, they are now commissioned as apostles or ambassadors for Christ. In Matthew chapter 10, verses 1 through 4, he called his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to throw them out and heal every disease and every sickness. Here are the name of the 12 apostles. First Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the tax collector, James the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, Simon the Cananean, and Judas who betrayed Jesus. You see, they are the first missionaries. They are the first ones Christ sends out, but it's not the only ones. We are to continue that job. And it's not just the pastor's job to do that. And you know, Angela's been here about a month, you know, and she's still trying to learn the ropes, and we're trying to learn it. And it's kind of one of those situations we're in kind of a metamorphosis time period. You know, we got comfortable with Hank. We liked hearing Hank up here. And we liked Hank being here. But then again, what happens is God says, if you get comfortable, I got to mix things up. And so again, back in the book of discipline, I want us to understand that here it is. This is what Angela, being clergy, says, clergy shall be appointed by the bishop who is empowered to make and fix all appointments in the episcopal area of which the annual conference is a part. Appointments are to be made with consideration of the gifts and evidence of God's grace of those appointed to the needs, characteristics, and opportunities of congregations and institutions, and with faithfulness to the commitment of an open itinerancy. You see, Angela is not a member of this church. She is a member of the annual conference. She will be our shepherd, but once, we need to know, one day she will go. And we're going to feel the same way we did. But you see, it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about what God has in store for us. You see, in Matthew chapter 10, verse 8, as the disciples began this journey, this is what Jesus told them. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those with skin diseases, and throw out demons. You have received without having to pay. Therefore give without demanding payment. Workers deserve to be fed, so don't gather gold or silver or copper coins for your money belt to take on your trips. Don't take a backpack for the road, or 2 shirts or sandals or a walking stick. Whatever city or village you go into, find somebody in it who is worthy and stay there until you go on your way. Now that's pretty tough. I don't know if I could do that. Not packing a bag, not taking any money, not preparing myself for wherever I was going to have a place to stay. But Jesus said that. He said he did not want the disciples to get into a habit of accepting payment or gifts for what they were doing, because he was trying to get them to understand that it's not what they were going to do. Because if they began to get payments for it, they began to think, well, that's what I'm doing. I'm getting paid because I'm healing these people. It's not their healing, it's God's healing. You see, we're called to be missional people. And so I'd like us to look at that. Like I said, it's not about you, it's not about me, it's about Christ. Matthew chapter 10, verse 32 through 33. Therefore, everyone who acknowledges me before people, I will also acknowledge before my Father who's in heaven. But everyone who denies me before people, I will also deny before my Father who's in heaven. In Romans chapter 8, verses 9 and the first part of 10, but you aren't self-centered. Instead, you are in the Spirit. If in fact God's Spirit lives in you, if anyone doesn't have the Spirit of Christ, they don't belong to him. If Christ is in you, the Spirit is in your life because of God's righteousness. Now, just went on vacation a few weeks ago, and one of the most amazing things happened to me. I went to Franklin's Barbecue. Now, I don't know if you know about Franklin's Barbecue in Austin, Texas, but you have to stand in line in Franklin's. I mean, and they sell out every day. They don't ever have closing hours. They open at 11, and when they're through with all of the food, that's when they close. Sherry and I got there about 11:45. The little girl said, look, you're probably going to have to you'll get in about 2:30. So we're standing in the line. And I don't know about you, but that day we were in Austin, there was another individual in Austin, Texas. President of the United States. And I told Sherry, I said, you know, honey, wouldn't it be funny if the President of the United States showed up here? Guess what? Next thing we see is some motorcade police with lights flashing. And we were just about up to the door. And this was about 1 o'clock. And I said, honey, he's coming. Texted my daughter Stephanie, Sherry did. She said, hey, the President of the United States is going to be here. And they started, Secret Service started warning us, and they started telling us, look, don't you take a picture in front of the President's face. Now, you can take pictures when he's out, but don't you do that. And these Secret Service guys were pretty big and pretty tough. And so we texted Stephanie, and she said, texted her mom back, said, Daddy, get off Mama's phone. You're just trying to play a trick on me. And I wasn't. And sure enough, about 20 minutes later, the motorcade came up, the huge motorcade, and the President of the United States, probably there were two big Suburbans. One was there, and one was right there. And there he comes walking out. And he comes talking to us, and he shakes our hands, and it's the neatest thing. I got to shake the hand of the President of the United States. Now, the problem was, the President of the United States got into Franklin's, and he cut the line. Now, the rule is you never cut the line. But he cut the line. So he gets in, and they shut the place up, and we're still out there in the hot weather. And the gentleman who's standing right here by him, the president says, look, I'll buy your meal. Well, the guy says, fine. I want 2 pounds of everything. And it ended up costing the president about $300. You know, I'm thinking, wow, why would you do the President of the United States? Don't you know he got Secret Service people? He can find out your Social Security number. He knows where you live. I would not make the President of the United States unhappy. But again, it was the neatest thing. But even though the President of the United States was there, it was not about him. It was about what we were talking about just a few minutes ago. You see, even though he cut the line, we need to understand that we have other things more important there. And haven't we seen people just like that? Cutting line, doing things in work, doing things at school, doing things even in the church. You know, I'm one of the top givers of this church. I should have a decision on where the money goes. I've been doing Vacation Bible School for 10 years now. I should get to pick the curriculum. Now, see, I can say that because Angela's coming back next week, and I won't be here, so you can tell her that you don't want me up here anymore on that if I'm stepping on toes. But let you know I'm stepping on my own toes up here on that. But don't we do that? You know, if we look at things and we get that mindset that we want to do what we want, that's when we run into problems. The way we resolve this is we need to ask ourselves this. And I'd like us to ask ourselves this question. Chris Blanchard asked it when he was here. If Leesville United Methodist Church was to be removed from our community, would people notice? If Leesville United Methodist Church was to be removed from this community, would people notice? And I would have to say yes. I would have to say this is a community church. Look what Angela just said. Of the $500 raised, they spent half of it on Vacation Bible School. You all were able to gather $500 for a group of kids you knew nothing about. What did you do for annual conference when they asked for money for buckets? I think we had to get $140. Vicki Snowden took over $600 to annual conference because of what you did. You heard Tony up here. We need peanut butter, breakfast food. We need other things for the food pantry. You heard Linda and Sherry. Over 60 this past week we fed in Friendship Feast. Over 80 a week ago. We would be missed if this church was removed. God has many things in store for us here. And if we're making the mission about Christ, then the answer is going to be yes, if you ask that question. You see, through the Holy Spirit that we receive our gifts to do the mission work Christ has commissioned us to do. Because you see, it's not about you, it's not about me, it's about the fruits of the Spirit. In Galatians chapter 5, verses 20 through 26, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against things like this. Those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified self with its passion and its desire. If we live by the Spirit, let us follow the Spirit. Let's not be arrogant, make each other angry, or jealous of each other. I looked. I studied. I cannot find a law that is against joy, love, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. I cannot find a law that's against any of those things there. If you look at in Galatians chapter 5, verse 16, I say be guided by the Spirit, and you won't carry out selfish desires. And in the 13th verse of that chapter in Galatians, you were called to freedom, brothers and sisters. Only don't let this freedom be an opportunity to indulge in your self-impulses, but serve each other with love. You know, I am so appreciative to live in this country, to have the freedoms that we have. You know, we've talked about going on summer vacations. We can go to any state in this country and never have to pull out a passport, stop at a border, or anything like that. You and I have an opportunity to go to any school we want to go to. We have opportunities to go everywhere in this country. But with freedom comes responsibility. You need to understand that we need to take responsibility for our actions. You see, Christ is telling us that we should choose to follow Him and be His disciples. And if we do, there is going to be times of persecution. In Matthew chapter 10, verse 16, look, I'm sending you as sheep among wolves. Therefore be wise as snakes and innocent as doves. In chapter 10, verse 22, everyone will hate you on account of my name, but whoever stands firm until the end will be saved. And then in chapters 10, verses 26 to 27, therefore do not be afraid of those people, because nothing is hidden that won't be revealed, and nothing secret that won't be brought out into the open. What I say to you in the darkness, I tell in the light, and what you have heard whispered, announce from the rooftops. We are free from death because of what Christ did on the cross for us. But with that freedom, we need to understand that we need to bring other people into the family. We need to bring other people into the fold. Just because we have been saved doesn't mean we're any better than anybody else. Because you see, it's not about you, and it's not about me. It's about love. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 7. Love is patient. Love is kind. It isn't jealous. It doesn't brag. It isn't arrogant. It isn't rude. It doesn't seek its own advantages. It isn't irritable. It doesn't keep a record of complaints. It isn't happy with injustice, but it is happy with the truth. Love puts up with all things, trusts in all things, and endures in all things. It isn't irritable. It doesn't keep a record of complaints. My brothers and sisters, if I have offended anyone in this congregation, in this church, I want to apologize right now. Because I love each and every one of you. And because of the love that you have provided my family, I'm standing up here today. I can tell you right now that both of my daughters, this is their church. When Melissa was about 4 years old, we drove right up past that church and she said, Daddy, that's our church. It's because of what you did. It wasn't because of the building, it was because of the people in here. And brothers and sisters, we have family members that are hurting. And we need to pray. Pray for them, pray for ourselves, and understand that each and every one of us has a part in this. In Romans chapter 14, verses 1, welcome the person who is weak in faith. In that same chapter in verse 13, so don't stop judging others. Instead, this is what you should do. Never put a stumbling block or an obstacle in the way of your brother or sister. You see, those of us that have been here for a while, we know the workings of the church. But those that are new to United Methodist, those that are new to the church itself, may not have those same backgrounds as we do. So what we need to do is we need to be able to share that. That's what about servant leadership. What the book of Discipline told us to do. We're all ministers. It's not just Sister Angela, Brother Hank, or the pastors before them. It is you and I. We are ministers, and we need to minister to one another. So, that's why we need to make sure we're not a stumbling block to somebody. In Romans chapter 15, verses 1 through 2, we who are powerful need to be patient with the weaknesses of those who don't have power and not please ourselves. Each of us should please our neighbors for their good in order to build them up. And in Matthew 22, verses 37 through 40, he replied, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your being, and with all your mind. For this is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. You must love your neighbor as you love yourself. All the law and prophets depend on these two commands. This morning, I challenge each and every one of us. God is calling each one of us not just to sit in the pews, but to be a part of the mission, to be a part of the solution, to be a part of the mission of making disciples for Christ for the transformation of the world. And whatever God is placing on your heart, please pray about that. Think about what it is He wants you to do. And I can assure you, if you do those things, great things will happen. Don't worry about getting a couple of shirts or a pair of sandals or a walking stick. God said, I'll equip you. If you go, I'll make sure you have equipment. So again, it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about the church and God's love for us. Let us pray. Oh, gracious and heavenly Father, we know you love us. You loved us so much that you gave your own Son to die upon the cross in order that we may be saved through him. Father, as we take this heed of being missional people, work within us and work outward through us to transform this world, our small community, just here and things we can do here, and all the way to Africa, that we can be the people you've asked us to be. These things we ask in your name. Amen.